So, hi everyone. I gave you some time so that you could go pick your glass of port before this live session. I hope that you are ready. I am definitely ready for it. Hi everyone, and welcome back to another School of Port live session. I'm Rita, an enthusiastic port lover from Alijó, Douro Valley, and I'll be the one guiding the session today. With us, we'll have Fernando Alves to discuss one of the most relevant and urgent subjects of our times, climate change and its effects in Douro. Fernando is the head of research and development in viticulture at Symington Family Estates and has been involved in many related groundbreaking research projects over the years. Just to name a few, and I'll look at the paper because these have some quite difficult names to say. He was responsible for the introduction of the Vineyard Integrated Smart Climate Application Project in the Douro, which is a climate management software. He's working on a revolutionary vineyard robot called Vine Scout. It's not called Robocop, sorry. And also participated in the constitution of varietal experimental fields and its corresponding study in the region among the biodiversity related studies. So I believe we can say that Fernando, he's the real port geek, and I believe he's quite proud about it. As usually, this session will last approximately 30 minutes, obviously, depending on the number of questions and comments that you have. I would suggest that you make them in advance, since this will probably be a quite participated subject. Now, without further ado, let's bring Fernando to join us. Just a sec. Fernando?
Hello, Rika. Hello, Rita. I think I'm live.
Yeah, how are you, Fernando?
Hello, everybody. I hope with good health for everybody during these pandemic times. So keep safe, please. So, Rita, about this first question. Let me say I made a little of suspense just for entering this session, because I think we have some breaking news for today. If you ask me about if we feel now some effects of climate change in the overall, so I just looking the last records for today, and maybe with high probability, we have the warmest and the biggest temperature in Mars for the last 15 or since they have records for Douro region. It's not happens only for Douro. This happened for all the Portugal territory. This event was under the influence of an intrusion of air comes from North Africa, or more precisely from Saharan desert. And this is a subject that was studied in the last year. There are a very good publication from the University of Science of Lisbon that related this increase of this intrusion of air that comes from North Africa with the increase of events for the heat waves, for example, in Iberia. And they examined the last 50 years for data in Iberia, and they found that not only increased the number of the events, but also they have a displacement from this region of the events from, for example, from the east part of Iberia to the west part of Iberia. That means Portugal, and not only for, and also from south in direction to the north. Well, this is a phenomenon that happens from a long time. But if you ask me now if this means that we are under the effect of climate change for Douro, I don't know, because this is happen very shortly. And for example, for tomorrow, we expect, let me say, the maximum temperature, I think, was reached 29.5 in Mars. That is huge. It's a huge value for Mars by the last day of Mars. Let me say the second, the more closest data record on this size was in 2015. And then we have another one in 1918. So, for example, for tomorrow, we expect a drop in temperature for near 15 degrees. So this is a kind of short event, but it's important to look at this behavior because that once happens often and often and often. So this is very important for us to understand the climate change, not only for the region, but all over Iberia and so on. So, for example, if you are looking to the evolution of the yield over the region in the last 25 years, and if we work the data, the official data from the yield in the region and the surface exploited by the growers in the region, we can see there are a slight drop in the yield over the years. There are a negative trend, a slight negative trend over these last 22 years. Myself, I examined this over this question, but again, if you ask if this means effects only of climate change, well, I have a lot of doubts because during the last years we changed a lot in the region. We changed the layout of the vineyards. We changed the systematization of the landscapes. We changed the density of the new plantations. We changed varieties. We changed the profile of the wines. We look more also for Douro wines rather than only for port wines. So that means there are differences for the different strategies for both kind of wines. So this is important, but we need to examine each factor separately and then cross all the effects in order to see all these results as a big contribution of climate change in the region. One of the problems that we feel in the region, and it's not only for Douro region, I think it's for most of the wine regions across the world, better for one than others, is the problem in science. To examine these kind of effects, we need a large period of data collected in the field and with precision, very well collected, database very well organized, and this is very difficult. So nowadays there are different teams in the region, not only in the case of Symington, but other colleagues. For example, the colleagues from SORAP just published last year two very important works that try to examine the effect of climate over the last 20-25 years of records in maturation in order to examine not only in Douro but all in Douro and Alentejo the effects of the climate over the behavior of the ripening of at least two varieties compared in Douro and Alentejo, and over 4 varieties for the case of Douro specifically. But it's difficult to have a common trend for all varieties because there are different effects according to the variety, the location, and so on. So we need more
data
data.
and more time,
No,
right?
sorry, I lose the sound.
We also need more time to
Yeah.
what
So I think we are on the wrong way, on the right way. Sorry,
yeah,
because we need to be patient with the data because we need to collect all this data. For example, the phenological records. Only in the couple of last 2 decades we start to have some good information about our varieties indoor. We have some records from the past, but not the protocol for collecting this data nowadays is more precise. We follow quite the same kind of protocol. Even for climate data, we have a new networks of automatic weather stations that record with high precision the data that we need to work on this subject. So this is the reason, because in part we feel that something has changed,
yeah.
but the great difficulty is to measure precisely the size of the effect.
Yeah, it's like Rome wasn't done in a day, so we need longer to
Yeah,
see how things are happening. Um,
yeah.
so could you tell us a little bit, Fernando, after this very long introduction, we already understood a little bit that that we cannot blame climate change of everything, because we've been changing a lot also the way that we plant, the way that we make our wines, the way that we treat our lands. But considering that climate change is happening, could you tell us a little bit on some specific things that we are doing to adapt in the future, considering that we think the future will turn out a way and it can be different?
Okay, so adaptation is a matter that growers from the past manage very well. So the empirical knowledge about the adaptation must I think the ancestral growers apply some of these principles. For example, they manage the canopy. They manage some very old rootstocks in order to be adapted for water reducing. For example, they use in the very old vineyards a blend of different varieties in order to, if there are one variety more sensitive than other, this one can make the compensation of the behavior of the other more sensitive for example, the heat stress or water stress. So this is a kind of things they adapt some. They use a very good training systems to manage, to balance the canopy according to the yield and the soil water holding capacity from the soils. But suddenly, from the beginning of the in the last century, near the 18 years, so we need to change the layout of our vineyards, because we need to remember that we are in a steep slope viticulture, not in a mountain viticulture, but it's a mountain viticulture dominated by steep slope landscapes, very steep landscapes. So we need to improve efficiency of the works, the mechanization in field. By this reason, Dour needs to adapt most of these vineyards for new systems of plantation, new systems from geometry of plantation of the vineyards in order to promote some mechanization, in order to reduce the number of hours to producing a kilogram of grape. Yeah. We need to be very precise that we need, with a very good and efficient system, a little bit more than 300 hours per hectare to manage to manage 1 hectare by during a year. And some new world viticulture can do this with half of this value to manage 1 hectare. So And for other side, our production on average represents 4 tons per hectare. And we have these wine regions from New World producing around 15, 16 tons per hectare. So it's
That's
imbalance. This
even more special, right? Even
okay.
for you
Yeah.
that working in the vineyard.
So, yeah.
By
So
having
this is the
little,
past.
it's like a jewel. You need to treat it well.
Yeah. So this is the past for to prepare the near future and the future. Douro is promoting a lot of adaptation tools. We have been studying not only varieties, as you make the reference from our grape library. It's not one. Let me make a small correction. It's 3.
Yeah, I knew it.
Yes, it's 3, because the family, the Symington, decide near 212, more or less, to start a new plantation of the collection in Quinta do Ataíde, in Douro Superior, Upper Douro, and they be planting in the field in 2014. But in 2015, 1 year later, with the remaining plants that we have from this field was planted with 53 varieties in the Quinta do Ataíde, with 200 vines per variety. And we take a decision to make a replication of this grape library at Quinta do Bonfim. That means in a different environmental conditions that is huge and is very important, is quite unique to study the behavior of these varieties in these 2 different properties. And at the same time, in 2015, you are looking upper a little bit, and we decide to planting a collection of 11 varieties, only for white varieties, in a property, in a state with an elevation near 500 meters of elevation. So that's very important, because you can compare also the effects of the altitude over these white varieties. This third one is only related for the varieties. Otherwise, and to summarize, one of the things we start to do since last decade is monitoring the vineyard. Monitoring first the soil, then we jump a little bit for the canopy, for the vine, because it's more important to make all this monitoring of the water status and so on in the vine, because the vine made an integration of all the available water in soil, the demand from atmosphere, and the canopy management of this influx of water through the vine. So we start to apply some classical methods like Schollander chamber, a pressure chamber, to measure water potential. The problem for us in Douro, because it's a warmer region since a long time, that means the midday measurement doesn't work. So we need to have the better measurement for us is at pre-dawn, very early in the morning. So we need to jump from bed at near 3 a.m., drive more or less 1 hour, and then work in field for 1 hour and a half, and very quickly and very fast in field. So this is the reason, because we start not only in case of Symington, but also other colleagues and other organizations. I put the name also of Advid in this work, in order to find different tools to measure, in order to make a good management of the vineyards.
Of course.
And then, for example, nowadays we start the projects that you made reference in the beginning, like Visca. Visca is a DSCS, is a decision support system to help growers to manage the vineyard according not only the data that collect in field, but also with forecast for the next, for short term, medium term, and seasonal forecast to promote this to take the best technical itinerary to make the works. And also Vine Scout, for example, Vine Scout is an autonomous robot that monitoring the vineyard, that draw some maps in vineyard in order to make to help growers to make a segmentation of the quality of the grapes inside a parcel. Nowadays, and to finish this part, we take part of the sky information. We are working now with satellite information, satellite imagery, with different projects. For example, VTGOS is a new project, but there are others working on this. And this is very important because we can work not only a specific plot or a specific property or a state, but all over the region in order to help growers to have more information to take decisions.
Okay, so now I would like to focus it a little bit more. First, very quickly, please, I would like you to answer, what is the average inclination of the Douro slopes? Just a fact.
The average.
Number.
The average in the part of Douro classified by UNESCO as World Heritage is near 40.
Okay, thank you very much.
Near 40.
That's okay. A lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
So now, having all of these topics and all of the information in mind, how do you see the future of the Douro and most specifically the port production? Do you think it will change dramatically in any way, or we will just continue adapting like we've been doing for centuries, like you said, and just consider, yes, it's climate change, but even though we're not talking about climate change, we'll still be adapting in any ways?
Well, for sure. What can I say? We are moderately concerned about climate change. Sometimes, some years, we feel more the effects, mainly in the last 5 years, over the region, over all the regions, for example, in Portugal, vineyard areas. But, for example, I think we have a lot of tools to apply in order to manage all these kind of things. Let's make a very short reference. In the beautiful study conducted by Gregory Jones, not the one in Douro that examined all the climate for Douro and the forecast for coming years, but I think it was published in 2009, a study about the ability of the different wine regions across the world to adapt for climate change. Yeah. And 2 of them emerged from the total is Douro and Tuscany, because both with the slopes, the elevations, the varieties, and other kind of things have more plasticity to adapt for climate change. We have our topography of the region. We have our diversity of genotypes in the region. It's a huge tool to adapt for climate change, for sure.
Okay, so we'll keep on having ports even in like 200 years from now, and even with climate change, we'll still be able to drink our ports, right?
I think so.
We can only think. We cannot say it for sure.
Yeah. Yes, we are working for this.
I hope so, because our next generations definitely need their ports. What are you drinking? Are you drinking something, Fernando?
A little bit, because to cleaning the roof, a little bit of it's a 20 years old Williams.
Okay, great. So now I have just seen here a couple of questions from the audience that I would like you to answer, if you don't mind. Is the application of Kaolino viable?
Yeah. I think it's a very good tool for mitigation of the effect of temperature, mainly the temperature. took short participation in the past. In my former position at Advid, we start also with some studies with the application of kaolin. Even Symington promote master degree a couple of years ago with the application of kaolin in one of our vineyards. And for example, from the results that I did, that is known, the kaolin can reduce near over 2 degrees the surface, the temperature on the leaves. So this is very important because this promote the gas exchange on the leaves. That means that the vines have more ability to capture CO2 from the atmosphere, and this is very important to stock in the grapes.
Yes. Okay, I believe kaolino means china clay in English for the ones who don't know, I think. Just another question. Can we expect machine harvest in the door soon? Well, we already have some projects.
Yeah.
Can talk about them.
Yeah, so this is a very challenging project. Symington start a project for adapt and to develop and mainly to adapt a machine, a harvest machine in our terraces in Douro. Yeah. This is a project that started in 2014. Till 2018 was the part of the project for adaptation, development, so on, and we start to try some applications of this tool in the last 2-3 harvests in Douro. So the results are quite promise to the growers, but we need always to promote not only the adaptation of a machine, but also both the machine, the vineyards, and also the all the layout to work with this material. It's a very challenging project. We have been working under this project in the last 8 years.
Okay, so probably we'll still see people during the harvest for quite some years, even though we are already having this project. Now, I believe for the final question, is the increase of temperature a problem for the quality, yields, or both? What do you think is most affected by the increase of the temperatures?
Both, but we cannot look only for temperature. We need to look also for water and light, because the abiotic stresses that affect the behavior of the grapevine, we can have the water stress, the heat stress, and also the light stress. So this is very important, the combination of both stress. For sure, the first effect that we feel can result in the yield reduction, but also sometimes it depends the combination of the other effects. We can have also some modifications in the quality of the berry.
Okay, but that doesn't mean that the quality of the wines, because the temperatures are higher.
For example, in the previous study that I made the reference, for example, the publication made by colleagues from Sauerap in using 2 regions, Douro and Alentejo, and two varieties, Tempranillo, Roriz, and Touriga Nacional. That means they found that Tinta Roriz or Tempranillo is more resilient than Touriga Nacional in Alentejo mainly, and the principal effect was the berry weight, that means yield, and the acidity. The total acidity is followed the reduction on the berry size for sure.
Okay, so we are almost ending. Maybe let's try and answer this very last question. Do you see a shift in the future in the main grapes used in port production? It was basically like what you were just saying. Some varieties show that they adapt more to to the differences in terms of temperature and water. So do you think that the varieties that we are using now for port are going to be different in the future because of these adaptations, because of the climate?
So this is a
$100
$1 million question, because so to solve this problem, the objective of the grape varieties, the grape library, was to study this adaptation tool. For example, let me say, for example, for variation, from the 53 varieties at Quinta do Teide, from the earliest one to the latest one, we can have at least 25 days in range for variation.
Yeah.
So that means for phenological adaptation of these varieties at the different conditions is a huge capacity for adaptation. Also, if you look only for one variety, and inside this variety, if you look for the diversity, the genotype diversity of clones inside this variety, and this claim your attention from all the people to the very beautiful work done by Portuguese team to promote the selection, the clonal selection of our varieties, yes, with a study that put together the influence of between variety and environment, and apply genetic quantic methods to study this evaluation of the varieties, and also from this project resulting the creation of Porvid, this association, Portuguese Association for the Grapevine Diversity, that Symington is also one of the promoters that was in the foundation of this, and at Quinta do Teide we have at least 4 fields with 4 varieties from the beginning of this study. So sometimes we look for the diversity inside a variety, and even inside a variety there are a huge capacity to adapt for this one. And the last one reference I give you is in the library, the grape library at Quinta do Bonfim, together with the physiology lab of University of Villarreal, UTAD, we started a study 3 years ago to know which mechanisms use 10 of our varieties to deal with heat stress, water stress, and light stress. And for example, we know a little bit how Touriga Franca is different from Touriga Nacional related to temperature or water scarcity or light exposition and so on.
It's like when you have a lot of cousins. Some of them will work away and others will work together. So if you have further questions, please use our weekend Q&As, and then we'll ask Fernando again and he will help us answer them, because we don't have more time for that. It was super interesting. Thank you all so much for watching. This is one of those endless subjects, but we hope that we have contributed to clarify it a little bit for you. Keep sending your questions and suggestions for on direct message for further live sessions. Don't forget to stay tuned at School of Port for further updates. And before we end, I would like to have a toast with you, Fernando. It was definitely a pleasure.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you. It's a pleasure, Rita.
You need to drink. Come on.
It's not a problem.
So, this is brought to you by the Port Med people here at Symington Family Estates. Thank you so much. Keep safe, and obviously keep on drinking. Right?
For everybody.
Yeah.
Keep safe, please.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.